Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
What's the most you've ever lost on a coin toss? Sir?
I feel the need for speed. Ow! Good morning, Vietnam!
What country you from?
What?
What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what?
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
All right.
These go to 11.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I must break you.
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
We love some movie characters, and sometimes the best way to get into the characters we love is to dig deep into their motive, their calling, and their sense of self, and talk about what they really, really want. This is Movie Typing, where we engage and unveil the intentions and drive of the greatest characters on film. My name is Jeff Cook. I'm a longtime professor of philosophy in Greeley, Colorado. With me is TJ Wilson, coffee guru, lover of theology, and personality typing expert.
Hello!
Boss, we are joined again by Daniel Mothershed.
Welcome back.
I really wanted to shout good morning Enneagram, good morning Vietnam style.
That's a great way to start a broadcast, though, let me tell you. We are picking up our second part into the heroic life of Robin Williams, and we are sitting right at what I think is the high point of his artwork. This, I imagine, will come into contention later as you hear these other two gentlemen talk about their fondness for all that is to come.
We're 90s kids.
90s kids. Got a 90.
You were in your adolescence as in the 90s. We were still children. So
Jeff is just going to talk about the movie Cadillac Man for the next 25 minutes.
In terms of self-actualization, Dead Poets is the place that hits me most, which we talked about last time. But I imagine for your gentlemen, it's going to be movies like Hook, Miss Doubtfire, and the rest, yeah?
And Aladdin, yeah.
And Aladdin.
I do love Aladdin. Yeah. But I mean, I will never discount Dead Poet Society because I've watched that a lot of times. And I think I said this last time, but I'm going to say it again. That movie says so much to my for self about the value of your own voice and contribute your own personal thing. Mm-hmm. So it's actually as important to me as any of the 90s Robin Williams films we'll go on to talk about, but it's super valuable to me. Yeah. And again, I think I said this, so I'm probably just repeating myself all over the place, but one of the Williams pieces that's hardest for me to go back and watch post losing him.
As we've been going through his movie catalog, it's surprising to me how much is actually drama, should be categorized as drama, as opposed to straight comedies.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of straight comedies.
Which I think really speaks well to the idea of him being if not necessarily mature or healthy, but like leaning into some of the best things about being a 7 is that he can show up and give us the feels in ways that really expands it and helps other people understand those feelings.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to go even bigger with that, just a thing that says funny people, I know you guys don't think this, but like funny people, believe it or not, can do lots of other things.
No.
If you are really funny on stage or on screen, chances are you can also be absolutely goddamn terrifying, like Insomnia or 1 Hour Photo, or you can absolutely break people's hearts, like in What Dreams May Come or Bicentennial Man or any of these other things. Yeah, comic performers are sometimes most times the best actors.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's the case that in a culture like ours that loves to drift towards extremes, I myself just love living in the middle most of the time and finding value on both sides. This is my preferred space. And as it goes here, finding that overlap of the comedic and the dramatic, and this is the rich place that life actually happens. It's not all smiles. It's not all weeping, is a great place to focus in on. And obviously he opens the door for us through his catalog. We wrapped with Dead Poets Society last time. I wanted to say that this was the high point again in terms of Dead Poets, Awakening, and Fisher King. And it may be the case that just for me, it's really the acting in those three films that I think is him at his best. Obviously, we'll talk about Good Will Hunting in a bit, but for me, that stretch is very impressive.
Though I do think timeline-wise, Fisher King is significantly after.
I got Dead Poet 89, Awakenings 1990, Fisher King 91, and then he has the transition we'll talk about in which he starts doing a lot of kids films. But to just sit with Fisher King and Awakenings for a minute, I imagine a lot of our audience will have never seen these movies. They're not ones that I've returned to at all, but just watching the highlights from YouTube, again, shocking, just cried all the way through, you know?
Yeah.
Fisher King Williams plays a homeless man who's wrestling with mental health issues, and you don't realize it till later that he has watched his wife die in a very violent way, and he is having to get through that, and it's part of his journey. But the cause of his wife's death is indirectly a radio shock jock New York DJ who is inspiring violence, and the two meet,
which never happens in real life.
No. What could possibly go wrong with saying whatever you want into a microphone?
We'll find out.
The story of this shock jock, who's played by Jeff Bridges, who is phenomenal in that movie, by the way.
He's so good in this role. Oh my God.
He just wants to repair the fact that he screwed this up. And actually, it's Robin Williams' character, Perry, comes in and saves his life. Like, he's suicidal, but he finds himself in a situation where he's going to get assaulted and burned to death by some very horrible people. And Williams comes in and saves him.
You believe this drunk? Me neither, man. Do it.
Soul, varlet, or feel the sting of my shaft. In the name of Blanche de Fleur, unhand that errant knight.
And it's a story of salvation. But the image that, just watching through the clips, something we're going to return to over and again, and even as we talk about William's own death, is that sometimes being rescued from unhealthy mental spaces is a big part of William's work, and potentially because that is where he's wrestling, both as a 7, but also given the disease that ended up really hurting him there at the end.
I like that in a lot of those movies, it's not about, it maybe saved is the right word, but it isn't like, and at the end of the movie, the problems are solved and cured and everybody's fine. So many of the so many of the roles that Robin Williams seems to choose are about the characters end up learning how to cope with and deal with in the best and hopefully most healthy way the situation that they're in. There's not like a magical, and then Perry has no more mental problems anymore, and the marriage is fixed, and Mrs. Doubtfire, and blah, 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 blah. It also feels much more like real life in that, like, sometimes the thing ends with just figuring out the best way to survive, and that's a huge win.
And sometimes that's what healing looks like. It doesn't look like the crossing the finish line and everybody celebrates and sees. For Perry's character, his story arc gets to the spot where he gives himself permission to miss and mourn the death of his wife.
I had this dream, Jack. I was married. I was married to this beautiful woman. And you were there too. I really miss her, Jack. Is that okay? Can I miss her now?
And that is the breakthrough that's kind of required for his story to move forward. So 7-ish there again. Like, I think he understands that needs to happen for some of us. And as a 7, it would be one of those things that you kind of avoid. How much easier it is to dress up as a knight and go into battle and sing I Love New York in June. How about you? These are beats of the movie, by the way.
It's like it's more like adapting to a new normal. And I think that like sort of sits in the heart of Sevenness, of being able to reframe what's happening. And I think in the low to unhealthy side, it is about moving away from things that are painful. But when Sevens really get centered and when Sevens learn how to deal with the things, like part of what they can do is bring levity to the spaces where things are really hard and give opportunity for people to adjust. Like one of the great things that we say about fours is that fours allow us to sit in our grief. Fours don't need to change things for us to move forward. And on the opposite side of that, sevens show us a pathway out. Like, not that things are going to be fixed, but you can adjust to this new normal.
Totally.
I think that shows up in a ton of his work.
Just nice that perhaps other people write these things, because I don't. Part of me does wonder, like Fiesta 7, like, write this film. I don't know that happened. They bring the sevenness to the role. But
Awakenings has that same kind of image, physicalized, as it were. Williams plays a doctor who goes into a mental health institution, and there are some people who they're suffering from an illness that just causes them to not be able to, to break out of essentially a shell that they're in. They can't interact with the world. And his work ends up being, how do I pull these people out? Very much, again, this character is nothing like Robin Williams, but it is like this. He's like, no, this is what I do, And there's one scene in which he's just trying to raise money for a medicine that has a lot of promise. And he's in the cafeteria and he's speaking to kind of the head of the hospital, as it were.
I would like to put the rest of the group on the drug. And I realize this may be somewhat expensive.
When you say expensive, do you have any idea how much money you're talking about?
Yes, I talked to Ray. I have an estimate. The pharmacist says to put all the others on the same dosage as Mr. Lowe would be $12,000.
How much?
$12,000.
A month?
Yes.
I can't go before the board with that, Doctor.
I was thinking of speaking directly to the patrons.
The few patrons that this hospital has already give what they can, Doctor.
We'll have to convince them to give more than they're accustomed to giving. Perhaps if they see Mr. Lowe.
I think you overestimate the effect that Mr. Lowe has on people, Doctor. We're talking about money.
And he's saying it's expensive, and he's making this pitch and trying to get this man to imagine what could be. And what ends up happening is you don't realize that everybody around them has been listening, and they've all been writing checks, and they all begin to drop checks in front of the head of the hospital. Imagine what could be. A huge part of his heart, life, spirit, skill set.
And I think it shows, like, this may just be another way of saying the exact same thing, but I think it shows that there's something about certain types, particularly 3s, 7s, and 8s, that this thing that I am seeing can be realized. And sometimes the real work is just getting other people on board with something they have to believe in to get there. Like 3s, 7s, and 8s sort of have this inherent belief that the world can be changed according to how they think it should be. And like there is so much about wanting other people to see those possibilities wrapped up in sevenness. And this is a common thread through so much of the work that he did, that it's not just showing us the possibilities, but it's showing the people that he's interacting with. Like, the convincing work that he's doing is, can you move toward these things that you can't see? And do you want to? Is it an exciting vision for you to get on board with? Like, the opportunity being pitched, the adventure that he's constantly pitching is not necessarily like Peter Pan adventure, but it's look on the other side of this thing that you see as an obstacle don't focus on the obstacle, focus on the thing on the other side of it.
We had mentioned it last time that heroism for the Seven isn't necessarily going to be in Seven space. That heroism for the Seven is actually going to be high side, one space. That's the stress move for Sevens. Sevens move into one space when they're stressed. Ones are very physical, their body types. There's something about the Seven who is saying, here's the dream, here's the ambition, here's what could be, but then putting flesh on those bones, really actualizing the dream. That takes place. Moving people forward physically, big part of a lot of these stories, and that's the heroism, or that's the heroic move there in Seven space.
I think interesting about the Awakenings, and even to a degree Patch Adams, is that these are real guys too. That Williams is playing, and Patch Adams is a real person who is still alive, and I believe Oliver Sacks is too. And Awakenings is certainly a much more faithful to the work that Oliver Sacks has done film than Patch Adams takes quite a lot of liberties. Whereas Oliver Sacks was on set on Awakenings all the time, so it's it's wild to me and so impressive that he can be Oliver Sacks, and you watch them together and you're like, wow, yeah, like he really did. I mean, because again, Robin Williams is an actor, like he did the work, but he's still able to bring so much Robin Williams to those parts, to have all those things shine through. Because Robin Williams is more interesting than all of us, even Oliver Sacks. But those things are able to complement rather than detract, and I think that just speaks so much to. For some reason today, I really want to just keep talking about his skill and craft beyond what we see, but like his skills as an actor throughout all these are so incredible and admirable to me too. Like that, to just highlight that.
Next season of his life is, I described it as this for the kids kind of.
In the business, we call it Steve Martining.
Or Ed Murphying, except Eddie Murphy.
No, the movies are still good.
Right. These movies are good.
Hook, Aladdin, Doubtfire, Jumanji. Wins Golden Globe for Doubtfire and Aladdin. First one being Hook.
Good.
Hook's a Spielberg movie, as we mentioned in our last episode. Change the last line. There's a line from Peter Pan, the book, that says to die would be an awfully big adventure, and they change it to live would be an awfully big adventure. And that was a scene that hit for TJ. You want to set this up?
Yeah, I think that. This is a part of the J.M. Barrie thing. Like the story that he's pitching is about adventure and like the different opportunities of what's on the other side of adventure. And Peter Pan is the quintessential Seven, right? The never wanting to grow up, the always wanting to have fun, the let's not grow up and instead let's fight pirates. And the villains in these stories are grown-ups.
Much like real life.
Like it's the people who don't have the ability to play anymore, who don't let their imaginations take them on adventures. And that is the opposite of Sevenness, right? And with Hook, we see the story being told is of a man who forgot what his childhood was like, and he pushed so hard into being a grown-up that he forgot what it was like to have adventures and to imagine things. And this story ends with the late great Dame Maggie Smith saying, I guess your adventures are over. And Peter Pan reminds us that life itself is an adventure. And I don't think that he could have possibly gotten to this spot without having gone through the hard work of recognizing there are things more important than making the deals, than being a successful adult. This is important work, but it's not good work for your soul. And Peter Pan, in order to be a good father, needs to remember that he can be childlike. That life is so much more interesting than making deals and like all of the things that are part of his old adult life. I don't even remember what his job was. Like he strikes me as like a venture capitalist, and that is the most they're pirates. They're pirates.
That's a great Maggie Smith moment in the movie too. When his son is explaining what he does for a living, he's like, "Dad blows him out of the water," and Maggie Smith just looks at him and says, "Peter, you've become a pirate." Beautiful moment, just quick, gorgeous moment in that movie.
Yeah, and he has to go through the not just reclaiming his childhood, but also recognizing that he has to step up in ways that he couldn't even imagine for the sake of his children. He has a responsibility to his children, not just to provide materially for them, but also to engage with them, to be a loving parent that like knows what they're into and is able to play and do fun things with them and take them on wild adventures, even if it's just in their imagination. He comes through this story like as someone like I think Peter Pan is a 7 and like being 7 on screen, like the end of this particular story is that there are so many more adventures to go on. And he comes through recognizing what is important, what is right, what is good to be whole in order to get to that place where the world is now his oyster again.
Yeah, the big focus being he needs to save his child from becoming a pirate, correct? I mean, that's right. Right. Just like he had become a pirate. He needs to. There's something, actually, I wanted to bring up. There's something about the Sevens growing up, as it were, and the dream being taken away, or like that sort of energy being taken. The world will hit you, and Sevens will commonly talk about how they will crash at some point. And Sevens in particular, it seems to me, have being in the head triad can quickly become cynical in terms of how they understand the world. And that's in essence what I see there is that it's Spielberg and Williams both probably in their 40s, 50s and needing to just say to themselves, we need to reclaim the magic, as it were. I think there's a message to themselves. Right. They're both fathers. Right. They're both probably workaholic dweebs, and as it were, and need to say something to yourself. Am I wrong there, Mothershed?
Oh, no, I haven't heard anybody use the word dweeb for a long time, and I just enjoyed it. I looked it up. He's a lawyer in that movie, so literally the most like pirate thing you could do in real life.
Yeah. But also, like materially speaking, like he has been able to provide his family with everything that they need, except for himself. Right. Yeah,
I think that's a temptation for Sevens as parents, though, as well. The outrunning everyone else, and well, of course, I'm providing for you, though. Could be something that's said. Another 7 that came to mind thinking about Hook is Luke Skywalker. The Last Jedi movie has nearly the same sort of themes and beats of the 7 who is cynical and needs to rediscover their heart. And I like that going on here.
That food fight scene between him and Rey is fantastic.
Yeah. What does it look like to recapture the magic occurs at the end of that movie? I don't know if there's the heroic side there, or there is. I mean, heroism for the sake of your kids is actually the way The Last Jedi goes as well, in some sense. Those that would follow you.
Well, I think part of the embracing of the heroic in that moment is in the highest part of that stress move, he is able to recognize that his system is not worth the amount of weight that he's put on it. Like, that's the whole point of the interaction that he has with Yoda in that film. It's like, who cares? This doesn't matter. Why are you protecting this thing that isn't important? The Force will live on beyond these books and this system. Like, it doesn't matter. And you get to come into a space where you can choose what's important. Like, there's so much more gray than you're allowing there to be in your black and white world. And that gives him, I think that gives Skywalker the freedom to stop running away from the hardest battle that he's ever actually fought, which is the damage that he has done to another person.
Aladdin.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck. Hang on a second. Wow! Wow! Does it feel good to be out of there? I'm telling you, nice to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, where are you from? What's your name?
Aladdin.
Aladdin. Hello, Aladdin. Nice to have you on the show. Can we call you Al, or maybe just Din? Or how about Laddie? Sounds like, here, boy. Come on, Laddie.
I must have hit my head harder than I thought.
Do you smoke? Mind if I do? Oh, sorry, Cheetah. Hope I didn't singe the fur. Yo, Rockman. Haven't seen you in a few millennia. Give me some tassel. Yeah, yo. Say, you're a lot smaller than my last master. Either that or I'm getting bigger. Look at me from the side. Do I look different to you?
Wait a minute. I'm your master?
That's right. He can be taught. What would you wish of me?
Be ever impressive.
The one contained. But never duplicated. Duplicated. Genie of the lamp. Right here, direct from the lamp. Right here for your very much wish fulfillment. Thank you.
There's Robin Williams as, in essence, the primary protagonist in film. But then there's Robin Williams as the assistant, as it were, as the teacher, as the one beside the primary person going through their character arc. And Robin Williams is just a master in that space. And you see that in Good Will Hunting. You see that in Dead Poets. And that's who he is in Aladdin, yeah?
I would push back on that, actually. I think in Aladdin, I think my favorite description of Genie in Aladdin comes from the guys that wrote the movie and Eric Goldberg, the first artist they hired to animate the genie and choose the art style for Aladdin. And they said they conceived it as a buddy film. He's not a sidekick. It is a buddy film between this poor kid and the genie, both of whom are looking for freedom in their own way and find it and get it from each other.
I love that.
The other piece they put into it is they conceived it as a buddy film because Robin Williams put so much like Yiddish and kind of things into the movie that they liked the idea of it being a buddy film between this Arabic kid and this Jewish character. They thought there was something valuable about that too, which I don't know if that might just be what they want, and I think that's cool, but I don't know that that's necessarily in the movie, but
it's a great coloring of it. You would say that the genie character is significantly older, more experienced. Yeah. There is kind of a pulling Aladdin forward as a teacher element, though. Yeah, doesn't take away from the buddy film side of it. I see where you're going there, though.
No, I agree. I think that's in there a little bit. I just think it feels more nuanced than that to me in the movie than it's just be like, well, he's the teacher.
Right. I get you. I mean, the only thing that would be comparable would be what was done with Lord of the Rings and the Gollum portrayal of how much chatter there was about Williams in this movie. That this was different. We've had decades of animation and nobody has done this before. Right. And, the fight for him to get nominated, as a voice actor for an Oscar was severe. And this is in the early 90s when the Oscars actually mattered. And, I should say like we're just a huge stinking deal,
Yeah.
And just changed what animation is, or what voiceover work in animation is. for good, and also now having met some voice actors who are like, it's kind of frustrating because like nobody's going to be Robin Williams. And then Robin Williams, and they've talked about getting sent out on auditions that are like Robin Williams and they're like, then I'm not getting this gig.
No, that's not a real
you
thing.
Can't do that.
There isn't enough cocaine in the world.
But at the time of Aladdin, I think he was cleaned up. So that was just, which like that's the thing. It's like you.
No, I mean the rest of us need cocaine to reach, and there just isn't enough to get us to that level.
Absolutely true. But yeah, just I looked at the numbers once, and of course now that it would matter for me to be able to call them for it, I can't. But the amount of characters and voices and impressions he did in that movie, it's like maybe more than like 150, because he just did so much. It's amazing.
On the Seven side, just it needs to be said, he's pulling a poor kid into images of you can be something bigger, or even empowering a poor kid to be able to achieve his dreams, and doing so in a very upbeat, optimistic, can-do, servant-hearted way is what I see there.
Like we don't have much, we don't have any real experience of him being a genie for anyone else except for that brief little stint where he's the genie for Jafar, but there's a sense of like, this is how this guy is. This is his way of being in the world, is just like expansive and all over the place, and he wants other people to have their best life. And as a genie, what he's been stuck with is power-hungry monsters, right? Like that's he consistently comes up against people who want their 3 wishes, and then they'll throw the lamp in a creek. Like, they don't care about him, and they don't care about their own betterment. And so now he finally finds someone who's a little bit, he's a diamond in the rough, if you will.
Oh, that's good. They should have used that.
And he finally gets the opportunity to be this kind of like joyful, entertaining presence without the weight of having to do it to cover up for the moral foibles of his subject.
One of my favorite scenes in that movie is when he asks, when Aladdin asks him, what would you wish for? And it just shuts him up because he's being the genie and he's joking around or whatever. And he says, what would you? And he says, just a simple, like, nobody's ever asked me that before. And I think that's the performance in that scene, I think, just speaks so much to what Robin brings to that role from his own life. Thinking about in the last episode, we talked about him and Billy Crystal's friendship, that Crystal's saying, I think Robin really liked me because I didn't need anything from him. I wanted to be there for him. Yeah. But just the work in his voice that Robin Williams does from that big performative genie voice to when he's talking about what he would want and nobody's ever asked. There's such an obvious shift into this just reflective quietness. Yeah. It's beautiful.
He is, and very comfortable being the dancing monkey. He's great at it, and it's fun. And then someone asks him to take a step, to take a beat, to say, like, you don't have to perform for a second. What's really going on the inside? And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Which is also why he's so heartbroken when he's like, I think I need to keep you around for a little longer. You just like see and hear that like defeat and just crushed. For a lot of people want to be like, well, it's a kid's movie, but I'm like, that's an amazing performance. And I think if you want to just dismiss it as a kid's movie, I know we said we could swear at this one, but
you're lost.
I yield the remainder of my time.
I mean, like a lot of great animation is of that sort of quality for sure.
Before they put Chris Pratt in everything, animated films were good.
All right. Well,
Well, and I do want to say something about like the sort of heroic parts of the genie. Like he is bound by the rules of being a genie, that there are certain things that he is required to do. That's it. He could show up and say, what are your wishes, and then disappear back into the bottle. But he spends a lot of energy trying to help Aladdin be a better person. Like puts a lot of energy into trying to convince Aladdin that Aladdin does not have to perform in order to get other people to like him. And there is a lot, like there's a real one-ishness to his relationship with Aladdin, because he doesn't want to just go on an adventure with Aladdin. He wants to move the story forward. He wants Aladdin to live his best life, and part of that means growing up a little bit and like being true to yourself and not lying. Yeah, I think that is like the heroic aspects at one can peek in there.
I do love the idea that William's own character comes into that character in the sense that there's so much being given by him outwardly, yet when he quietly shows you who he is, that's when the people who actually love him will take note, and he understands it, and that comes out in that character.
Big time.
93, Miss Doubtfire. You guys love this movie. This is the only movie that I've walked out of just enraged. I can't remember being mad in this way from a movie. This is because of my own experience with divorce and what the message of the movie was. It may have worked for a lot of other folks. Didn't work for me, apparently.
Me.
So
it worked for me.
And
well, you're wrong, TJ.
Two sides of the coin on this one. So let me.
Did you not like that the message of the movie is married or not, as parents, you should show up for and love your kids? Was that what you didn't like about it? Or
I feel like most of the things that I would say about being a divorced kid would actually get me into trouble, because I do understand that so much of our audience, of people that I love, that they've had marriages that have gone badly, and what do you do with that? So I come to this from an askewed side, where idealist that I am, I have what seem to me reasonable expectations for my parents and what should have happened, and that gets my experience of Miss Doubtfire was you're trying to wash this, and that's probably because just that maybe it's the case that maybe these parents actually were able to do real work with their kids and say, look, we apologize, this was a huge failure on our part, I'm very sorry, and that didn't happen for some of us, or in the ways that we needed. And so I suppose that's where I'm at.
It does feel aspirational, and I hasten to say I'm just talking out of speculation, not being in the same club as both of you, but
your parents are still together. Whoop-de-doo, Daniel. I bet they're both still alive too.
Last time I checked, but that was a couple of days ago. So no, but I feel like the aspirational divorce films like Parent Trap, it's like, oh my God, the parents get back together. I just watched that New Girl episode, by the way, where she tries to parent trap her parents, played by Rob Reiner and Jamie Lee Curtis. Hilarious. Mm-hmm. But that feels like the stupid aspirational divorce thing. But it does feel, I do see a world where you could spin Mrs. Doubtfire as it's saying and then everybody figures out how to not have an acrimonious divorce and have to split time evenly. Maybe that is also aspirational, but I do think that film probably revolutionary at the time, because most of the films about divorce are either The Parent Trap or something like Kramer versus Kramer, which is, that movie's brilliant and the performances are amazing from Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman, but that is a bitter-ass movie. Mm-hmm. So I think Doubtfire is revolutionary because it is showing, idealistic or not, it is possible to not be in love with another person and not use your children as cudgels with which to attack the other human. And I don't think that's been on film up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. Go ahead.
And I think that one of the things that it hit so hard for me is that I recognized at an early age that my parents shouldn't be together, and then it was still after that we found out that my mom was gay, and my parents definitely shouldn't have been together. But the fact that they had us is still a reality, and we have to deal with the fallout from everyone is glad that they got together in the first place. Their lives may have been different if they hadn't, and dealing with that reality and again trying to adjust to a new normal. They're I didn't want my parents to be together after I was able to adjust to that. When I found out they were separating, I knew that it would be nice, like it's still the case, it would have been nice to grow up in a household where there were two loving parents who cared about each other. And I'm also really glad that my parents didn't try to do that, because they might have murdered each other. Like, it could have gone really, really
that could have
badly.
been destructive in a wholly different way, yeah.
Yeah, and part of what I get from this film is a recognition that we can't go backwards. We can't go back to that thing that we thought was going to work, because these two humans are also like broken, messed up people. Yeah. But we can adjust to a new normal and start to move forward in ways that can be really beneficial to everyone. And I think that comes, again, he brings so much of himself to these roles, and there is so much Sevenness in the journey that he goes on through this film is I think adjusting to a new normal, but not trying to go backwards anymore.
Yeah. So. Spinning this the best I can positively in terms of the heroic side, he is doing the work that he does in all these other movies. You know, speaking to poor kids, speaking to sick kids, speaking to the bereaved. Here, he's speaking to divorced kids. And so I'm going to pull you, take my hand, Peter Pan style. I'm gonna seek to move you out of the grief of the loss of your family, as it were, and move you into a different space where you can rebuild. And that can be obviously a great element, not simply for him to his own family, because it's kind of strange when you're the father in the situation, but perhaps that's a message for others, as you're kind of saying, like, oh, I'm able to, through this story, I'm able to see, the complexities of broken family life and have some empathy for my caregivers.
And this, I think, is worth it is
some, not full empathy, just
it's also, I think, valuable to note that this film he produced, and they actively sought the rights to create this film. This is based off of Mrs. Doubtfire is based off of a French novel called Alias, Madame Doubtfire, and him and his wife at the time, Marcia, had read it and gotten the rights and thought, oh, this would be great for Robin to do this. I also think it's valuable to see a movie about divorce where the dad really does want to be part of his kids' lives, because that's, I feel like, another thing that we see so much of in film and TV, of like, there's a divorce and the mom is begging the parent, the father, to give a shit about the lives of the humans that he co-created. So I think to see him as a dad who's so he's got that great speech in the courtroom where he says, the only thing I can do is plead insanity. I'm crazy about my kids since the minute they came home from the hospital. Like, I've had to be with them. Mm-hmm. How many movies? How many dads? A lot of dads. I feel like we know a lot of good dads in the community. You two being two of them, actually, to begin with. But like, that does feel rare, though, still, particularly in the 90s, to see in movies. So I think that's also hugely valuable, maybe to make it more important than it is. I don't know. But I think that means something.
One of the things that I think is really important about this film, especially when we're talking about Sevenness, is to see him in such unhealthy space, but it doesn't necessarily look unhealthy unless you're his wife.
Yeah, unless you're relying on it.
Sally Field is the only one who doesn't like him at the beginning of this film. And like, even like, part of what I wanted to bring to this discussion was that, like, contrasting the opening scene of this film with the closing scene of this film. Robin Williams is playing someone who's a voice actor for a cartoon show. Big stretch there. And
it's like three characters.
He is, yeah, right. And he, in his space of, I think he just has not really ever grown up, and he's in an unhealthy place that allows him to sort of slide into stress and pull some of the bad things about oneness and say, oh, I am going to do what's right here, even though my job is to read the lines. So like, he's the cartoon is written in such a way that, like, the bird starts smoking a cigarette, and Robin Williams' character is like making fun of that. He changes the lines to try and push forward an anti-smoking message, and he gets fired because of it, because he won't do what his bosses expect of him. And I think there's an unhealthy pull from one there that is not, don't mishear me, Jeff. It's not that what he's doing is wrong. It's that he's going about it the wrong way. That he's trying to force everyone else to agree with him about what is right and wrong. And he doesn't have the capacity to convince them that, like, this is the bad part of stress for Sevens, is that they lose the capacity to convince people of their own belief. And so he gets fired. And then the movie goes through its whole thing, and it ends with him giving a completely different kind of message that is much more expansive, that is much more like allows for other people to be messy and to find themselves in the message that he's trying to give. And yeah, I think just the contrast of, like, this is what he's doing, trying to be a children's performer in this space, and he can't do it well, versus the end of the film where he's grown up a lot and he's actually doing something important.
That's what hits me, is that he's a performer throughout the film, from being a voice actor to being, dressing up as a woman. Obviously, all of this is a performance seeking to spin things.
All of it's a performance.
But the end is, okay, let me get honest with you. And that may be, I mean, again, if we're bringing in Enneagram, that may be some pushing into some one space, and even on the high side there. So,
one of my favorite I've got so many favorite moments from that film, and most of them are the funny ones that, we can all remember, that he does. So many great voices, so many great... The montage of him pretending to be applicants for the nanny position is just, like, that's another one where, like, I just sit here and do it. I'm not gonna, but I could. You know what I mean? Like, I think I said this on the first episode, but Chris Columbus said he could cut 4 different rating versions of that film together from the stuff that he would do. He also said they could have made a movie that was 5 hours long. There's a deleted scene where he goes to put the pepper on Stu's jambalaya, where somebody catches him. And as Mrs. Doubtfire, he goes into this, like, Cajun chef character and just does this 4-minute riff where you're like, I get why they cut this out of the movie, because it doesn't add anything, but it's brilliant. But one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when they're asking him about when Jonathan Lundy, the head of the company, asks him what he could do to help with the ratings on the TV shows, and he says a few funny things and whatever, and then when he talks about it, he says, look, bottom line, they're little people. You don't have to play down to them, you just have to play to them. If it's something you would enjoy, they would enjoy. And I saw that movie as a young person. I still think about that, whether it's creating art myself with my friends and peers, whether it's when I teach a little bit. I know so many people who are like, this is for younger people, this is for whatever, we got to dumb this down. But it's so impactful for me to hear that. And that's clearly what Robin Williams thought in real life too. So it's just, that's a great, I don't know, to me, that's a great message.
Yeah. Yeah, but giving a lot of dignity to your audience. Sevens can imagine the minds of children and just how expansive and how much potential they have, quickly and easily meet them in those spaces. I suppose it's the case, I didn't mention this, but I suppose another big thing about moving from 7 to 1 space is you try to fix things, and the entire movie is about him trying to fix his marriage.
And doing it wrong.
Like, yeah.
And I suppose high side 1, just kind of coming to that space where this is something you can't fix, coming to some extent. It's not, he doesn't necessarily positive spin it. Again, it's the end is honest and content with that, dare we say, serene at some level, and that would kind of move into the Enneagram map if we wanted to go there.
Yeah. And adjusting to the new normal. Right.
Also, recently, she shared it. Sally Field had shared a story about the anniversary of Robin Williams' death had come up, and Sally Field had told a story that she'd never told before, which while they were shooting Mrs. Doubtfire, I believe she lost her father And of course was
Right.
devastated and had still come to work that day because it's hard, you're contracted and you whatever. And she said Robin Williams instantly could tell something was wrong and like pulled her aside and was like, "What's wrong? What do you need?" And she explained to him what happened. And again, fortunately, because he was producing the film, he was like, "Then go home, mourn your passing parent and go be with your family." And that's pretty rare in the entertainment industry, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. If you're the producer on the movie and you let your lead go, it's one thing, I want to save you from pain, but he's going to take on all of the weight
sort of
of
the
having to
studio
make that
and-
decision from rescheduling. He's got staff that he has to take care of. That it's not 2 people make a movie. You have 100 people waiting on the person you let leave. And so he will be the center point of that. And that is a very heroic, I will stand in the gap, I will lift this weight for the sake of this person kind of move. Bang. Well, he's filming Jumanji.
So I think we've decided Mrs.
and-
Doubtfire is a heartwarming, amazing movie, and Jeff is wrong. Is that what we decided? Or this is the last time I'm going to be on this podcast.
For the cutting room floor, there are times where somebody who you love dies and somebody comes up to you and helpfully says it's God's will. That's the message of Miss Doubtfire. It's the message of, you know what? You get to grieve this terrible loss for the rest of your life of what could have been, but it's okay because your parents love you. That's how that rings in my heart. The message is very little responsibility, culpability, ownership. There's very little there in terms of understanding that your decisions have decades of effect on people that you singularly are responsible to care for. And I can go on for another 20 minutes, but I'm not going to. But the message just it's like, okay, yeah, I see how you're spinning this. I reject your take on this. I just like if your parents love you very much, they would make different choices. I do understand that people are screwed up or that things just don't work out, and clearly this is something like maybe I haven't done enough work on myself on this front, because you can just see it kind of bubbling over here, but I don't know. I have higher ambitions and hopes for people than, the dog shit moves that consistently elevates as this is just normal. And
not to necessarily push back, but just to say there's stuff at the end of that little speech at the end of that movie that contradicts that, because I think what's important, because he's responding to a letter from a child saying, "I don't know if my family loves me anymore and if we're gonna whatever." So,
Dear Mrs. Doubtfire, 2 months ago my mom and dad decided to separate. Now they live in different houses. My brother Andrew says that we aren't a real family anymore. Is this true? Did I lose my family? Is there anything I could do to get my parents back together? Sincerely, Katie McCormick. Oh, my dear Katie. Some parents, when they're angry, they get along much better when they don't live together. They don't fight all the time, and they can become better people and much better mummies and daddies for you. And sometimes they get back together. And sometimes they don't, dear. And if they don't blame yourself. Just because they don't love each other anymore doesn't mean that they don't love you. Now, there are all sorts of different families, Katie. Some families have one mom.
Sure.
the response at the end of the film is the correct response to a small child wondering, do I still have a family anymore, even though my parents aren't married? And, that is, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. I understand everything you're saying, but I think even the fact that the monologue at the end of that film talks about, you can have a family even if your parents aren't together. You can have a family if you have one parent. You can have a parent if your parent gets married. If that parent gets married to another person, you can have, that can be a family. Your family if you're raised by your grandparents. Your family if you have 2 moms or 2 dads. And that's the thing that makes it family, and that's the thing that is valuable. So I don't think it's necessarily saying love is going to save the world, because I hate when that's the message of movies too.
Yeah, and I hear you. I think it's the case that in a culture like ours, I don't know anyone who rants about divorce, and as I'm doing it, I don't know anyone else who says this, but I will tell you what it was like to have my first kid and have it be the case that my parents aren't together when they're there. They have to schedule times to come see my newborn when they're not in the same room. They have to sit on different sides of the auditorium and still fucked up my wedding. And not all families are like this, but I grieve, really grieve what I lost there, even though, I gained a fantastic stepfather and a wonderful stepmom. Long story short, I think you're right in saying they're setting something up there at the end in terms of the letter is setting up the last speech, the answer being for this kid where they're at and the struggles they're having. Yeah. It's not my struggles. Yeah. I don't feel unloved by my parents in that moment. That's not where I'm at. So, as it were, I'm totally sabotaging this. I told you all no footnotes.
I think this is interesting. I think you said allow footnotes. I'm fascinated by this. This is interesting. This is super interesting. Yeah, I think we're the target. That would have been a really different movie if the last 5 minutes of Mrs. Doubtfire were speaking to parents asking what they should do in a divorce versus what maybe some young children need to hear. I think those would be two different movies, and I don't know if Mrs. Doubtfire would be as beloved as it is were it the former, not the latter.
Right.
But yeah, it is interesting.
Because this is about divorce and not about Robin.
He was divorced
Williams.
3 times. It was all.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about him once.
I just did.
I think that's what's going on. He's composing this message for his kids, yeah, and trying to spin it positive.
I think that is a deeply cynical take on the into that.
Have you heard everything I've said about this movie, Daniel? The real problem for me is that people should have permission to grow up, and unfortunately, when you procreate, you're in a situation where you're having to grow up, and you have
you've chosen to
place yourself in a parental space. And so the thing I want to just say, TJ's mom should have figured out that she was lesbian before she got married.
Correct.
So that's
but then I wouldn't exist. So
I understand the counterfactuals and all the things.
I'm glad you were born, TJ.
Just saying, this is where my idealism comes in, and it's not very helpful.
Yeah.
But it seems like I'm saying something super controversial by saying you should figure out some stuff before you have a child. That feels to me like that's really controversial.
I think that should be filed under the good advice.
I don't think it is. Yeah,
it's got an 18-year commitment.
This is probably why procreation's going down all over the world right now, is because people are kind of going, you know what, I probably need to figure out who I am first, and then nobody has kids.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Well,
what happens after Mrs. Doubtfire?
Robin Williams makes Hamlet with Kenneth Branagh.
Well, after Doubtfire, he does Jumanji. And I don't have a lot to say about Jumanji, but I do have something to say about what happened during Jumanji, which is one of the high points of his heroic life, as it were. One of his best friends in the world has a severe neck injury. Those familiar with Robin Williams will know they went to Juilliard and went with one Christopher Reeves, who became Superman. And story is told after, Reeves is riding a horse, falls awkwardly, breaks his neck, and is in a space where they are able to keep him alive, but he loses all use of everything underneath his neck. And he's deciding whether or not he wants to live. And the story is recounted. I think I've only heard it from Williams. I don't know if I heard it from anyone else, but Robin Williams, when he was promoting Birdcage, tells the story of going to the hospital, and he decides, like Williams would do, he doesn't just go in. He finds a gown, puts a mask on, comes in, and plays a character. Because the job here of the Heroic Seven is, you are in a bad spot, and take my Take my hand. I'm going to take you somewhere else. And so he walks into the Reeves' room and pretends that he's a Russian proctologist, throws the gown up and starts examining his undercarriage and starts just making jokes while he's underneath Reeves' cloak. And Reeves can't do anything. He's paralyzed. Which strikes me as just one of the truly revealing things about Williams, his character quality and what he does for those he loves, as we've kind of said.
Yeah, it's like showing someone the silver lining a little bit. Like the things that my best friend is a 7. He is one of the people that will first. He'll be the first one to make some type of comment that makes me laugh in the midst of a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
He knows where the line is, and he knows how to step his foot over it in a way that's like, yep, everything's fine.
Right.
Everything's and so the rest of us, this is not a thing. Like, this is part of that independent triad. I think that the 7-8-3, like understanding where the line is and where you have to cross it when appropriate. There's so much about we can tell stories like this about Robin Williams over and over and over again, and I think this is such a great encapsulation of this idea that like part of what 7s have in them naturally just flowing out of them is like reminding the rest of us that life can be fun, that like, yeah, this whatever stink hole you're in right now, it sucks, but it's probably not forever. And it's also not the only. There is some grass over there that is still a little bit green. Like that. Like, let's imagine moving past this. Let's remember that there is something else besides this pit that you're in.
And it doesn't feel like an escapism thing too. Like we said earlier with some of the stuff, it's like
Correct.
We're joking about the reality of your situation because we can't change the reality of that situation, but we can certainly change how we react to it, which our perspective, which I think is
on the situation,
feels like another. I mean, those are his movies and that's his humor. It's never like, and it's all going to be okay. It's like, it's bad, but here's some delightful observations about it.
This again, high side one space is that finding meaning and purpose, those aren't necessarily there for 7's in security. They're moving into 5 space. That's not going to necessarily be there at 7 space, but finding meaning and purpose is going to be a big deal for 1s. And so the thing that ends up playing out in Reeves' story, which is documented in the Fantastic
I was just going to ask you if you...
Williams ends up being that 7 on the front line, as it were, more of a like the ringleader, the innovator, the one who is moving things forward before anyone else is. And Williams' influence here is not only on his friend to continue living, but he doubles down and becomes a face of what Reeves' charitable foundation becomes. And so because of this, awareness is brought forth. There's surges in funding for what really are some of the most desperate human beings in the world, those who have lost complete use of whole parts of their body. And again, Williams stepping into those spaces where somebody's in real bad shape. Take my hand, we're going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But doing so very actively. It's not just mentally. Although the mental part is really there for the 7. But when the 7 starts getting people moving and doing things, there's high side 1.
Yeah.
Opposite of cynicism there. Like, I think this is the two, your best self is and your worst self are real similar. Like where 7s can become highly cynical, the opposite is also available to them. And this is a good illustration of that, it seems.
And you use the same tools to do both. Like those real like cynical Robin Williams moments, he's using the same tools that he's using with Chris to cheer up Chris Reeve or any of these other people. That's an interesting observation.
That's what I got. We're going to pick up Robin Williams next time. If you are into Enneagram, Around the Circle is our main feed. If you're just getting into Enneagram, Start Here podcast is actually releasing its 5th season. I'm going to be posting all of our first half of our long interviews with all of the most informed people that we know.
I am not on any of those, so if you're going there, you will not hear me.
Oh, they know.
That's for my mom.
And if you're inspired and want to join us in chipping in $20 to make sure that some of the hungry in our city, which by the way are mostly kids who utilize the Weld County Food Bank, if you want to make sure that like your $20 actually provides, I want to say it's like 40 meals. Like they use that money real well.
That's amazing.
But if you want to chip in $20, just go to aroundthecircle.org, sign up for a membership. I'll donate everything that I get in this month from new people into that space.
That's awesome.
So that's Mothershed. It's always great talking to you, catching up with you, hearing your heart.
This is a lot of fun.
TJ Wilson, you're the man.
You are.
You got anything else, my man?
I got nothing.
Daniel Mothershed and TJ Wilson. They're both fine men. Extraordinary to talk to. Loving my Friday afternoon. And my name's Jeff Cook, and who you aren't just isn't interesting.
Get to the chopper!
I drink your milkshake.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?